We three kings of Orient are Bill, Jim, and Frank. Bill, Jim, and Frank were following a star. They were star voyagers, or astronauts. The year was 1968. Bill Anders, Jim Lovell, and Frank Borman were on a mission to circle the moon and return to Earth safely. On Christmas Eve, 1968, they came around the far side of the moon. And for the first time in history, human eyes saw Earth rise. Bill took a picture of the blue marble rising above the dead moonscape. It is a stunningly beautiful image, and I'm sure that most of you have seen it. Seeing the blue earth from space, even if it's just a picture, can be a spiritual experience. At least it is for me. In Matthew's gospel, travelers from the east follow a star to Jesus. The text does not count them, but we tend to think of them as three because they brought three gifts: gold and frankincense and myrrh. The text doesn't give them names either, but legend calls them Caspar, Melchior, and Balthazar. Now let's compare their time with the year 1968. The world was in bad shape both times. In the first century, the armies of Rome had conquered the Jewish homeland of Jesus. Entire towns had been leveled and destroyed. Thousands of Israelites had been crucified. In 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy were assassinated. Riots broke out in American cities. Violent protests grew against the Vietnam War. In both time periods, the world was a turbulent place. And both these stories, the story of the three star voyagers going to the moon and the story of the three wise men following the star, both stories go against the grain of their times. Both stories point to something wonderful. Both stories offer a larger vision. In Matthew's gospel, the visit of the wise men is about the appeal of Jesus beyond the usual boundaries. The wise men from the east were not Jewish. They were probably Zoroastrians from Persia. Matthew tells this story at the beginning of his gospel to show that Jesus was not just for one people. Jesus was also for those outside the family, for those outside the religion, for those beyond the boundaries. This theme continues throughout Matthew's gospel, which ends with Jesus telling his friends to go everywhere, to everyone, and invite all people into his family. No more boundaries is what Matthew is saying. Now, the journeys to the moon and then the later shuttle orbits around the planet demonstrate the same theme. A good number of astronauts have been transformed by seeing Earth from space. They're struck by the lack of boundaries on our home planet when it's seen from above. They're amazed by the fragile beauty of this blue marble on which we live. One astronaut said, "You can't see the boundaries over which we fight wars." A Saudi Muslim astronaut flew on a shuttle mission and said this, "The first day or so, we all pointed to our own countries. By the third or fourth day, we were pointing to our continents. By the fifth day, we were aware only of one Earth." An astronaut from the Apollo 12 mission said, "I am not a religious person, but I think really the whole earth is the Garden of Eden. We have been given a paradise to live in. I think about that every day." And James Irwin, an astronaut from Apollo 15, said this, "The earth reminded us of a Christmas tree ornament hanging in the blackness of space. As we got farther and farther away, it shrank to the size of a marble, the most beautiful marble you can imagine. That beautiful, warm, living object looked so fragile, so delicate, that if you touched it with a finger, it would crumble and fall apart. Seeing that has to change you, has to make you appreciate the creation of God and the love of God. So we have two stories, one about 50 years old and one about 2,000 years old. They are stories of journeys among the stars. In one journey, a child is found. In the other journey, a blue marble is found. But in both journeys, home is found. In both journeys, boundaries are gone. In both journeys, the end is compassion. We have a journey to make too. We have a light to follow and pathfinders who have gone before us. We have a quest. What we will see is the beautiful blue planet that is our home. What we will find is the love of God. What we will discover is that we are all in this together. It's our story now. We can follow our star. We can have light in our souls. We can have the star child born in our hearts again. Amen. We turn to page 358 in the prayer book and stand together for the creed. Page 358.